Hi guys, I'm Josh Perkins from A Blacksmith Story. I'm here with my good friend, Mecca Waite. She is my forge mom, everybody's forge mom. Out at Rent Fair, she takes great care of us and makes sure that we get our food, our drinks. And on top of that, she's an amazing jeweler, artisan, does wire wrapping.
Wire wrap, beadwork, a little bit of everything. So I've been doing jewelry making, wire wrapping, for, I'm going to say probably around 22 years, probably since I was about 18. Started with beadwork, but I played with beads even as a kid. I've always had a fascination with shiny stones.
Nice.
But I've been doing the wire wrapping actively for probably about 18 years.
And how did you get into it?
So I grew up in a household where you had choices. You could read, you could do a craft, or you could be bored out of your mind. My parents both had crafty hobbies. Dad grew up doing woodworking, and that was one of the things that we did at the house. Is he had that option. My mom draws and paints, and it just very actively encouraged to find a hobby of some kind and more crafty. The craftier it was, the more likely you were to be encouraged to do it and be provided with supplies. I've tried several different things, but overall I always come back to playing with the stones and doing beadwork, and it's something I've just really enjoyed doing, because there's so many different ways to take a stone or a bead and do different things with it. And there's so many things that I've tried that didn't pan out, but then there's a lot of things that I have that have just created some really pretty jewelry.
Did you learn from anybody in particular or self-taught?
I'm primarily self-taught. I've done, when I first started, there was a bead shop in Broken Arrow called the Bead Gallery, and her name was Teresa is who ran it, and I took a couple of classes with her on basic beadwork. And then my mother-in-law actually does jewelry making as well, but hers is solely beadwork. As part of a birthday gift, the first year that my husband and I were dating, she paid for me to take a basic wire wrapping class at the Gem and Mineral Society show here in Tulsa. And that was the first and last real wire wrapping course that I've taken, and I've just kind of elaborated from there and just played with it. And once you can get used to the muscle memory and figure out where your strengths are and what kind of styles you like, it's real easy to grow and shift.
What kind of tools are out there online for you to learn?
So there are tons of YouTube videos. One of my biggest recommendations, if you're interested in learning how to do wire wrapping or beadwork of any kind, is you can go on to YouTube or even through Google, and you can Google how to wire wrap beadwork. If you have a specific type of beadwork that you're looking for, like such as peyote stitch or bead weaving, there's a bazillion videos on both of those. Or how to do, like with these, like wire wrapped rings, there's a lot of different styles, lots of different formats that you can do that with, and go through, watch the YouTube videos, and then see what you like. See what kind of styles you like, because there's a lot of different wire wrapping styles and beading styles out there. My stuff tends to be very organic, very simple. There are a lot of different perspectives on how to wire wrap, and what I recommend is watch a few different style videos, watch a few different videos, find a few different creators whose pieces you like, and try to find your voice from that. One of the biggest things, if you're really getting into it, is in building muscle memory, make earrings. If nothing else, it gets you familiar with how to use the tools to get the tension proper.
Oh, do you have any specialty, or do you just enjoy making all different kinds of things?
I say if I had a real specialty, it's probably the basic wire wrapping that I do. I'm probably best known for the trees, in that I have a tree charm that I take, and then I go through and I make family trees and you can also customize it for any set of coloration that you'd like. But one of my favorite things, honestly, is just custom pieces in general. Probably about 80% of what I sell at any event is while I'm sitting there making things. My favorite part of this is being able to sit down and build a connection with someone, have them pick a stone, tell me a story about something that they've been looking for, bring me a piece from home that they'd like turned into something special to them. And then I can send them off with a little bit of myself, but a whole bunch of whatever it is they were looking for.
So what sort of events do you attend?
So we typically do the Muskogee Renaissance Fair in Muskogee, Oklahoma at the Castle in Muskogee, often referred to as OKRF. And that runs for 6 weeks from the end of April through the first week of June. And when I say we, I mean myself and my husband. We run the Blacksmith booth out there. If you come through, say hello. Let me know that you saw us on Josh's video. We'd love to hear that. He's also one of my demonstrators, so you should come and see him when he's with us.
It is a good time.
It is a lot of fun. But we've been doing that for, I think this is going to be my 13th season that I've been participating out there, and my husband's 14th. He's one of the primary blacksmiths out there. But I sit and I make my jewelry, and I sell pieces, and I sell my blacksmith's pieces as well. So I handle most of the sales for that. But we also do the Scottish Games, or what's referred to as Scot Fest in Broken Arrow, which is usually the second, or I think it's the second weekend of September. And that's typically with, we have a group of friends who come up from Oklahoma City. And just for reference, we are all members of the Salt Fork Craftsman Artist Blacksmith Association, which is primarily blacksmithing, but it also encourages other crafts such as stone carving, woodwork. The jewelry making that I do is part of it as well. We also have some silversmiths, coppersmiths, and I'm sure there are other craftsmen that I'm just not aware of, but it is a club dedicated to keeping these arts alive and sharing the crafts. And Scot Fest, we have several other people out of Oklahoma City who come up and demonstrate with us. And then the end of September through the second week of October, for those 2 weeks, we also demonstrate at the Tulsa County State Fair for about 2 weeks. So we have the blacksmiths, and then we have my jewelry station. And occasionally I'll have other demonstrators, club members come out, and we've had weaving demonstrations. We've had basket making demonstrations that'll come out at the State Fair as well.
Do you offer any classes?
If someone wants to learn, all they have to do is ask. I don't have anything as formal yet. I am working with the Dawson Creative Guild to get that built up so that in the coming probably next year or two, we're hoping to be able to start offering more community outreach through the Dawson Creative Guild, which is a group that we are working to build through our Forge space and with the help of Krista Patrick, who is working on building what is going to be a phenomenal fiber arts studio, as well as several other crafters in the Dawson area. Once we have that up and moving, I'll have more formalized classes. But in the meantime, if anybody wants to reach out and ask, I'm happy to set up a time to sit down with them and show them the basics. Yeah.
How can people find your work?
For the most part, it's at the events that I've already mentioned. I do occasionally post stuff on Facebook. I don't currently have a formal Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok specifically for my crafts. That is in the works, though. I will be getting that set up here as soon as I have the opportunity. We got to get through fair first, because the next several weeks are going to be pretty busy. But once we're done with that, I'll be actively working on getting at least an Instagram up and going with my beadwork.
What advice would you have for a beginner just getting into the craft?
Be kind to yourself. You're going to waste wire. You're going to break beads. You're going to lose stuff. It's okay. The biggest thing is have fun and keep your joy. I've been doing this for a long time, but I've also taken a lot of breaks. There have been times where I've put my stuff down for a year or two. I've just bundled it up and moved on to other things. I've had setbacks. I've had entire kits stolen and entire sets of finished products stolen. And those are major setbacks. So you have to give yourself the grace to come back from something like that. But even just as you're getting started, the biggest thing is nobody learns how to do something overnight. Nobody's perfect overnight. Find a style you like. Find the materials you like working with. I work primarily with stone beads, but I also have a fair amount of glass and metal charms that I like. It just depends entirely on you as a person and finding different things, because there are so many, oh my gosh, there are so many different styles of jewelry making out there. Whether it's doing the beadwork, and there are some absolutely beautiful where you're doing the bead weaving or the peyote stitch or the various, where anything with a needle and a bead is too tiny for me, and you have my admiration if that's something you're interested in. And it's, be kind to yourself. The biggest thing is just taking that minute, stepping back. If you get frustrated, go do something else. Go make yourself a cup of tea, find yourself a glass of wine, come back and have fun.
What advice would you give the new people on pricing their work?
Three main points is: how much did you spend on your materials? Is it something that you can easily replace as far as getting the same materials again? Is it going to be a one-off? And what is your skill level to determine an hourly rate for yourself? One of the biggest things is our material cost goes up almost constantly. I bought a piece, or I bought supplies 10 years ago that I couldn't get now for twice as much. It just depends entirely on the material and the stone itself. The biggest thing with pricing is look at your market. There are events that you're going to do where your $25 pieces will fly off the table, and there are events where your $80 pieces are going to fly off the table. There are events where you'll do really good to sell $5 pieces. It just depends on the event and your audience, for lack of a better word, at the events that you go to. I have a fairly consistent following with the events that I do. I mentioned earlier that we just do those three main events. I also occasionally will do craft shows and local events for that friends need more vendors for, where I can set up, but I primarily tend to follow the blacksmiths around. But at the events that are just on my own, my sales are very different than they would be at the other events, because I don't have the same audience. So my pricing can be a little bit different. And that's something to pay attention to, is stuff that I know I can sell for $80, $90 at one location in a specific part of town at certain events. I'm not going to be able to sell at an event in other parts of town. I have to have a variety of pricing. And that's one of your biggest thing when it comes to pricing is it's awesome to have a variety of levels of pieces. And I have stuff that I can sell for as little as $5 and still make a decent little profit on that. And then I have other pieces that are significantly more expensive that I don't actually make as much profit on, because I can't necessarily charge what I need to make back on that. So it's paying attention and recognizing who you're selling to, how much you're selling your pieces for, and whether or not, again, you can replace the supplies you used. There are charms that I can no longer get that I didn't realize that at the time when I used my last one. And I've had people come back and asking for them, and I can no longer replace them. And same thing with beads. There are certain stones that get more expensive every year. Turquoise is a good example. Lapis lazuli is a good example. The quality changes, and the availability of good quality versions of those stones change every year. So it's something to pay attention to when trying to do your pricing. One of the best things is find something that you really like playing with, something that you can buy in bulk and just produce as much as you can with as many variations as you can, and get to a point where you're comfortable just kind of tossing them out, kind of turning them out. Because that's the stuff, those 5-10 pieces, those are my those are my bread makers. Those are what keep me going when I'm not doing a lot of custom pieces. Is I can buy a container of these for $10-15 and sell them for $5. And I sat there and made it in 5-10 minutes. And I can do my base price, very simple piece, sell it for $5. I sell 2 of them and I've made back everything I need on the container.
And there will be a video that she has that will show you how to make one of those.
And that's the fun thing, is that you can find something like that and you can adapt it. But when it comes to pricing, you just got to make sure that you're not pricing yourself out of being able to sell it. But you got to make a little bit of money. If you can't make enough money to go buy more beads at the end of the day, you're not selling it enough. You're not pricing it high enough. Base formula that I come up with is my material cost. And for me, I aim at $25 an hour. So look at how much time I have into it. And that will change as I get better at what I'm doing. And I could probably charge more per hour, but that depends on, again, my audience and where I'm selling, what I'm making, because some stuff is a lot more valuable. Ask your friends. If you're not comfortable and you're not sure about your pricing, ask your friends. If you have people who do shows, ask them, because they'll tell you whether or not it will sell at that price point. And they can give you a better idea of what your price points are. Good luck.
What is it about the stones that speak to you in particular?
Oh my goodness, that's a hard one. I just like playing with stones. I like shiny rocks. I'm a magpie at heart. There are so many different aspects to working with stones, whether it be with larger pieces, rough tumbled pieces, cut and shaped pieces, like these cabochon hearts, or even just playing with the beads themselves. They all have different aspects that call to me as far as being able to do different things with them. The smaller beads and whatnot are awesome for earrings and bracelets, or for the necklaces that go with the pendant pieces. And this is an example of one of the pieces that I've done. I like playing with stones. They are a good way for me to center and calm myself, and also to just kind of relax. I typically do one of 3 things to relax. I cook, which Josh can testify to.
Delicious.
I read or play on my phone, and I do beadwork or wire wrapping. Those are my 3 primary forms of relaxation and just kind of getting out of my head at the end of very long days. I work in customer service when I'm not doing events or planning events. And it can be stressful. And everybody has that. But I have found that playing with stones, working with stones in one way or another, helps me maintain my own mental health and my own sanity. And I'm one of those people who I like giving stuff away. I like giving gifts. I like making pretties. And that's a lot of how this started. Is I started off as I wanted to make stuff. I had that hobby. I have this compulsion to make these things, and I would give them away. And it got to a point where all of my friends, all of my sister's friends, all of my family were going, I don't want any more. Don't make me any more jewelry. But I got to keep making it because it's so much fun. So now I sell it and I make it for other people.
And when you go to these events, you do offer custom work. Mm-hmm.
So the probably about, I'm going to say 75 to 80% of what I sell is stuff that I make while I'm sitting at the events. Is I will have organizers sitting on the table with loose stones such as the cabochons I just showed you, or the tumbled stones, and as well as metal charms, and let people go through and find pieces that they like, and we can work together to make a custom piece for you. And also the trees that I mentioned, that's another one. Well, I'll have some of those charms out, and I usually have an example or two of the trees on the table that I have finished. And if you come to an event, you look at my pieces and you see something that you like, but it's not quite right, or you're looking for a truly customized piece that is one of a kind, which is what I specialize in, let me know. I will make sure that you walk away with something that you're happy with. And it doesn't necessarily have to be something off of my table. If you have a stone or a charm that you have found somewhere else, or you need something adjusted from somewhere else that you purchased it from, I'm happy to work with you doing whatever you need.
Awesome. Thank you so much for spending time with me today, Mecca. I really appreciate it. You're truly one of my favorite people.
Thanks, Josh.